Hi, and welcome to On Stage at A.C.T. Today we're talking to actor Dennis O'Donovan, featured in the upcoming production of Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf as George. Now, Dennis, the last time we spoke, you were going to take a little bit of a break and not have much else to do. So,
Yes.
What has changed since I spoke to you last?
The best laid plans. Well, our actor who was playing George had developed a personal situation that needed attending to, and he let us know that he couldn't complete the role. And we cast about a bit to see if we could find a replacement George, and none of the people we went to was available. As it happens, George is a part I've always wanted to play, that I felt I had a good instinct for, and the director asked me to step in.
So you've gone from Nick and pulling out so you could direct to having to pull out of directing to come back and fill in for George. That's quite a bit of a circle in there. So
yeah, it's kind of ironic that I stepped out of Nick so I wouldn't have to memorize lines and stepped into George, which is to memorize all the lines in the world.
It is quite a dense script. So, for people who aren't familiar with the show, what can you tell us about George and how he fits into this grand epic of Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf?
Well, George and Martha are a couple who live on the grounds of a university. George is a professor at the university, and Martha is the daughter of the president of the university. And they take the occasion of an evening following a party at the home of the president to invite a young new couple over, a new professor, to entertain them and be nice to them, as the president has suggested. And they proceed to take out their attitudes on each other and on this young couple, and hilarity ensues.
Hilarity is, I don't know if it's an understatement or a warning, because that's quite an interesting show.
I should say hilarity.
Oh, that's even better. You said that this is a role you've always wanted to do. I realize that part of it is because up until now you probably weren't age appropriate for George. What drew you, and quite young looking still. So what drew you to wanting to do George even after all those years?
The script has astounding wordplay. Albee is a genius at this, and I've enjoyed his work over several plays because he really has amazing wordplay. His characters are very articulate in very interesting ways, amusing ways. And so just the lines I would get to speak, but then the explosive nature of George in the context of the play, where he takes it and he takes it and he takes it, and finally he's had enough and he has his say. And it's one of those things where you get to operate under the radar for a long time, and then all of a sudden you burst into the scene. And so it's basically an opportunity to really flex some chops acting wise.
You've mentioned a couple of times now the number of lines in this show. Is that the most challenging aspect for you? I mean, because it's quite a mouthful.
The thing about the number of lines is, they say acting is reacting, and a key skill for an actor is listening. And as I've been reviewing the recording we made of our table read as part of my study guide, it's really pretty straightforward to respond to what I'm hearing. Now, there's a couple of long monologues where I'm telling a story, and those are a little bit challenging, but I really try to put myself into the head and the memory of my character. And so, for me, I hope to be relating those long speeches and those stories as if I'm recalling them rather than I've memorized them.
Now, this show is maintaining its period. It's being set in the 60s.
Yes.
So, is it still contemporary to a modern audience? So why should people look at this show as something they should see?
You could ask why people still look at Shakespeare. Some stories are timeless. The story of George and Martha and Nick and Honey, the other couple, could easily be happening today. The way the play is written, it's important to keep it in its period, because if it were written today, there would be a whole lot more expletives and a lot more crude language.
Okay.
You know, when this play was initially released, it was shocking for using words that may never have appeared on a Broadway stage before.
So shocking in its frankness.
Shocking in its frankness, and you know, a little bit of, you know, Anglo-Saxon vulgarity.
Oh, okay.
The way we present it, it still got its shock because we're living in that 1960s mindset. So it is still a big deal that we use certain words.
And in the way that they're used, I mean,
Yeah.
it's like, because these are collegiate, they're supposed to be, quote unquote, above the vulgarities of all of this, so that we look at them to set the bar, and yet they're just like everybody else.
Oh yeah, in many ways.
What do you think audiences are going to react to this? How do you think they're going to come in flocks? Or should they come in flocks?
They absolutely should. I think this season was structured to have this be its peak. This is, you know, the biggest, the most classic show we're doing this season. So first of all, you're going to see astounding acting. I speak on behalf of the entire cast. You know, it is a marvelous play, and it will be well executed. And it's an opportunity to see a real great American classic done the way it should be done. You know, done with the reverence for the characters and performances that it deserves.
Well, I'm hoping for sold out shows. I'd love to see people waiting in lines to come see this.
From your mouth to God's ears.
Exactly. So we'll ask this question again, and you can always change your answer, but what's next for Dennis? Last time was going to be a break, which didn't work out. So what do you get to do after Wolf's done?
I'm directing the next show after this, Match by Stephen Belber. I'm really looking forward to that. It will be a real palate cleanser thematically from this. It has its moments of intensity, but it's ultimately a bit lighter of a play. We've got a summer program coming up, but I've really tried to take a little bit more of a backseat as producer. So I'm not directing any of the summer programs. I've got other people doing those. So I get to really put my time into planning, into growing the audience at A.C.T., into getting the word out broader than is out today about A.C.T., and to grow the family of A.C.T.
On that note, you can see Dennis O'Donovan acting in Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf as George. It opens this February 19th and runs through March 5th. Dennis, it's always a pleasure.
Whoever decided to come to this college.
In my mind, Martha, you are buried up to your neck in cement.
Sorry you ever let yourself down. Who's afraid of Virginia Woolf? Virginia Woolf, Virginia Woolf. Who's afraid of Virginia Woolf? You didn't do anything. You never do anything. You never
God,
mix.
Martha, you are a wicked woman.